قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين.
Shanqiti rahimahullah, and Shanqiti, this is the older Shanqiti, the author of Adwa al-Bayan, because there's many Shanqitis out there and many ulama of them. He was my father's teacher, a man that I was a kid when my father was in Medina at that time, and he was a man I wish I laid my eyes on, a giant in ilm. There's hundreds of ulama that are attributed to Shanqiti, but if you say Ash-Shanqiti, among the learned people of knowledge today, it refers to this man, Ash-Shanqiti. Just like you say Al-Kitab means book, but if you say Al-Kitab, it automatically to us Muslims it means Al-Quran. And like when you say Ash-Shanqiti, it means this Shanqiti, among the learned knowledgeable people. My father used to have recorded tafsir of him that were approximately 50 years old, that he kept close to him under his bed until they were confiscated approximately 12 years ago by the FBI, where I remember I used to listen to some of them where they were tafsir of Surah At-Tawbah. Among these giants, students are Ibn Baz, Ibn Uthaymeen, Abdurrahman al-Barrak is a student, Ahmad al-Uqla is one of his students, Bakr Abu Zayd is one of his students, Atiyya Salam, rahmatullah alayhim ajma'in, is one of his students. Actually, Atiyya Salam is, I believe, his number one student, because he never departed his side. He found him, he met him, never left him till his last moments. And he was my teacher and my father's teacher, Atiyya Salam. Shanqiti wrote 3 tafsirs of the Quran. The final one, and the most thorough one, was an amazing tafsir where he did tafsir of the Quran by the Quran. He wrote it in 7 volumes. And when he got to Surah Al-Mujadala, verse number 22, rahmatullah alayhi, died. His student, Atiyya Salam, who was my father's teacher and my teacher, someone I was very close to, he finished the Quran. He finished the tafsir. And then they sent it out to print it, and it's now called Adwa al-Bayan. My father informed me one time that they asked the Shanqiti, rahmatullah alayhi, why is it you put so much emphasis on tafsir? He gave a great portion of his life to tafsir, even though he was a great knowledgeable person in usul. He was very knowledgeable in fiqh. He was very knowledgeable in aqeedah, and he has booklets on that. He was a master in many of the Islamic sciences, even in Arabic language and grammar. And the answer was, he said, not a single opinion of the opinions of Salaf on any verse in the Quran except I know. He's not bolstering, he's confined in his students. Ulama, brilliant ulama. My father told me he heard that. And of course I love my father and I believe him. May Allah grant him a long life full of deeds. When I returned to Medina alone to study in the Islamic University, I was in the company of Shaykh Atiyya Salam. And one of the times I asked him, I said, did you hear what my father told me? Did you hear it? Shaykh Atiyya said, I remember the day your father asked it, and the setting we were in, and the surrounding of that day. Giants, not an opinion of the Salaf on any matter except he knows it. Now we have little cats and rascals running around portraying themselves to be imams of mufassirin, selling the verses of Allah and the hadith for a little price to please the enemies of Allah and the enemies of mankind. A brother came to me a few days ago, and he said, he was truthful, and I gotta respect his truthfulness. He said, will you write me a tazkiyah so I can get in a certain place to learn? I asked him some questions because I didn't know him. And I asked, what was your purpose to learn? Why you want to go learn? He was very frank and honest. He said he wants to learn basically to bank off of it. He said he knows so-and-so who just knows Arabic. He has an institute and he charges on each head per year so-and-so. And if you want to learn tafsir from him, you got to learn. And names he named, I don't even know. You've got to learn tafsir from him, you got to pay to learn. And he wants to do the same. He wants to bank off of it. Today, we have unhatched, inferior mufassirin who, when calamity befalls their brothers, the manabir begin to shake in unity with their shouts, one cheering the other, tampering in the verses of Allah, quoting hadith and manipulating their meanings and the meanings of ayat. Then when a historic genocide of 2,500 to 3,000 of our honored, beloved brothers in Bangladesh, suddenly the pulpits are silenced. They're the hermaphrodites. I said it before, and I say it again. These are the hermaphrodites. These are the hermaphrodites of the Ummah, because if you know the definition of a hermaphrodite, he's the one with a reproductive organ of both sexes. And also, it's one who possesses disparate and contradictory qualities in the way they think or they talk or speak. One way of thinking when there's lots of Muslim lives, and one way of thinking when there's lots of non-Muslim lives. The fault really is not on those malignant tumors, as much as it is on those drifters and floaters who follow behind them, the ignorant masses. You find someone who has no idea about jewelry, but he won't trust his necklace or his wife's necklace or his ring at a jeweler for half an hour to fix it until he makes sure this is a trustworthy, honest jeweler who knows what he's doing. For 5 minutes, he can't trust someone with a necklace. And the same thing with a doctor. He'll go and choose the best doctor and seek and pursue it. But when it comes to his deen, he'll take it from the hermaphrodites.